This is the Purple Passion Project with host and clinical sexologist, Dr. Stacy Friedman. This is your go-to podcast for raw, real, and irresistibly juicy conversations about sex, intimacy, connection, and everything in between. Whether you're feeling a little stuck in your love life, curious about what turns you on, or just craving conversations that actually matter, you're in the right place. So now, please welcome the host of the Purple Passion Project, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
What do you get when you mix purple, passion, and permission to be your true self? This podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Stacy, and this is the Purple Passion Project, coming to you live and unfiltered. This is the show where we talk sex, intimacy, connection, and everything underneath the surface, because let's be honest, small talk is boring and you're ready for the good stuff. So relax, drop your guard, get ready for a few truths, laughs, maybe a few gasps, and a whole lot of passion. Today's episode is going to be so much fun. Today's guest is Pepper Kat, and she is not just pushing boundaries, she is obliterating them. She is a former news producer turned award-nominated adult content creator. She's also a podcast host and a founder of the wildly provocative Design Your Dreamgirl. Cannot wait to hear all about that. She's also the host of Spicy Spectrum, which was nominated for the best podcast in 2025 Australian Adult Industry Awards. That's amazing. Where she dives into male loneliness, modern desire, and emotional truths that are hidden behind the fantasy of it all. So Pepper is here to pull back the curtain on porn myths, online intimacy, why so many people are reaching out, not just for sex, but for something much deeper. So buckle up. We're going to go all in, and I'm going to bring Pepper on. There she is. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to have this conversation. I'm very excited. And, being the background that you have, it's kind of nice because you're kind of seeing the business world and the actual real world at the same time. So it probably brings a really unique perspective for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the digital world, because right now with phones, computers, everything is very digital. And I know that a lot of it affects men through intimacy. It also affects relationships, women that are in the relationships with the men. So how would you, when you say that digital intimacy is the new frontier, how do you define it? How is it changing the way that we're connecting with people, fantasizing, exploring, things like that?
Yeah. So I actually started doing digital. So I do both in person and digital, but I started the digital side in terms of phone work. So phone sex, camming, live cam shows, adult content, as well as the messaging back and forth, which is the personal connection. And so what I've seen over the past few years of me doing this, for almost a total of 4 years total, is me seeing an increased amount of younger men, of course, of age, coming to me for fantasies or some sort of connection. You often see this through phone sex. You see them calling for cam shows, and it can be fantasy. It can be even just talking. And so that's what I've noticed. But of course, it's across the board. There are a different number of men, mainly men who see me, even partnered men as well, older men. It all depends. But so that's what I've seen. And I think it also has to do with a lot of technology, with people so used to being on their phones, going on social media, and then as a result, seeing opportunities to go online to have some sort of fantasy fulfillment. And then I know you mentioned the male loneliness. I do see that with both single and partnered men. It just looks different, but I do see a lot of men trying to find spaces where they can be their human selves when it comes to sexuality, because it's so shamed and it's still taboo, which it shouldn't be in terms of our desires, that a lot of them do seek outlets, especially discreet outlets, to indulge sexually, but not also feel shame about what they're doing. And that's why a lot of them come to us online to have some fantasy fulfilled.
Do you feel that they are confusing the online intimacy attention with like real intimacy, or is it like a totally new form of intimacy where they just have a space to open up? Because I know that just even people that come into my office, a lot of times the men have a hard time because they have shame or fear of judgment. But a lot of times they're not bringing that up to their partners and allowing their partner to give them that safe space. They're just assuming and then doing these things, I guess behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
are they, when they talk to you, does it seem like that they're confusing that attention with real intimacy, or do they really know what they're doing? They're just not sure how to move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So the ones who I see who confuse it are typically the younger men who have not dated before. Maybe
Okay.
they have even never had sex. So a lot of times it's their first time even speaking to women or having some sort of sexual relationship, even if it's digital. But with the ones who are older, especially the partner, they from what I've seen, they do know the difference and they see it as a transaction. What I think the main reason, I think there are a couple of reasons why they don't tell their partners. The first reason is that they may be into something extremely taboo. I'm going to be honest, maybe age play, rape play, race play, something that is socially
Acceptable.
unacceptable, and they don't want to bring it up to their partner. I've even had married guys say, if my wife knew what I was really into, she would divorce me. And it's
Divorce.
probably true, because I do get a lot of extreme taboo fantasies that they would never tell anyone. And then, like you said, for the second one is them assuming that their partner may not like it, which they may like it. But I think it's still the stigma that as a man, what I'm doing is wrong and I'm dirty and I don't
Right.
want the world to look at me as dirty. And a lot of married men, from what I've seen, they have a persona where they want the wife for this, and then they want and I hate quote unquote, like the whore or the
Right.
Jezebel
Right.
for this, so I can keep up this image in the public, but also be my true self with this woman behind closed doors.
So that's a good thing that you brought up, because I also see this a lot where the man is afraid to obviously be who they are and they don't want to bring it up, and they assume that their partner is or would divorce them. But do you have any suggestions for how they could bring it up to them to see first if it's something that they would approve of? Or some of the things that I say is just like find something online, like a statement, and bring it up to them. But have you been able to think of something that could be helpful for them to be able to bring it up to their partners?
Yeah, I often, which I know some people are against adult content, but even showing something or even showing what they watch or giving examples of what they do on a cam show.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the partner has to exactly do the same thing, but maybe come to some sort of balance of what
Right.
each person feels comfortable doing. So if it's BDSM that they're doing with a woman like me, maybe they can take it into the bedroom and talk about it. And also too, from the woman's point of view, I think because we're raised to not be so sexually open as well, I
Right.
think to the judgment and not like, for example, I often see online, like if a woman catches her partner watching porn, she'll come online and just like be outraged and be upset. But I think women are allowed to have those feelings. I also think approaching it with curiosity too, instead of shaming
Curiosity.
them for
Yeah.
the porn that they're watching. Maybe ask them, hey, what turned you on about that video that I caught you watching? Why do you
Right.
like it? But not like shut them down to the point where they don't even want to talk about it, is what I've seen as well.
Yeah, because what they'll do is they'll say, you're not allowed to watch any of it. Well, the
Hmm.
curiosity piece is so important, because then you're actually starting a conversation.
Right.
Otherwise, like you said, if it's an automatic, why are you doing this? I'm done. You don't want to be ever doing this again. You're shutting down a whole possible experience that you could be sharing with your partner. And there's so many people that look at their, I say for men, that look at their wives that like, okay, well, I'm marrying her because it's pure, it's innocent, it's wife material. And then I'm going to get all my stuff with the whorish part of it, you mentioned, this way. There's nothing wrong with your wife being a whore.
Yeah, I mean, she can be both.
Yeah, let your wife have the experience or the ability, if she understands what you need and wants, to be that person.
Exactly. I
Um,
mean, sorry,
yeah,
I
no,
didn't mean to cut you off. No, I was gonna say I even get couples. Like I get couples, I cam with couples who are comfortable, or I'll make videos for couples who are like nudists, and they want me to make a video to even spice up their own life if they're like in an open relationship, or they've
right.
I mean there are so many possibilities, and again, I don't think people should cross their boundaries and do something that they feel uncomfortable about, but I do think you should lead with curiosity, maybe go to a kink convention and kind of just see, walk around with your partner. I mean, there's just so many ways to learn.
Yeah, and I tell people sometimes also, when they're trying to either bring in some excitement, or possibly they're talking about a third person and they don't actually want to go for it yet. A lot of times I'll tell them, go to a swing club. It's so respectful there. If someone asks you, just say no, and they're like, no problem. You go there, you just experience the eroticism of it all. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to touch anybody. You could be just with your partner. But it's those little, like you said, those little, the balance of where your boundary is, and allow yourself to have that curiosity. That's one of my favorite words, is curiosity. I think it's so important. So what are some of the, I guess, biggest lies or myths that society believes about sex work or porn in that industry?
Yeah. So the main one that I'm seeing online, I know there's a big discussion on porn, and I'm not discounting that there is porn where someone may feel insecure about like fake boobs or how the woman looks. But I think the biggest misconception is that that's the only porn out there. I mean, that is the mainstream, but there's porn that's indie porn from content creators like me, where you can see someone who looks like you, and there are
Normalize it.
yeah, I mean, like there's like different sizes, there are different colors. I mean, everyone within the indie adult content community, to me, it's more ethical. And I think people don't even know about that side of porn that you can watch, as opposed to the porn that you may see for free on Pornhub. There's just so many types that you may even resonate. There's porn that's directed by women for
For women.
women, but yeah, that, and then also too the misconception that, which I'm not discounting, that there are people in the industry who may have experienced some sort of sexual abuse, or they are overly sexual, but a lot of times it's just a persona. Just like when we were talking about how wives can have, be the quote unquote whore and the quote unquote good woman, or whatever, the balance of how you show up in the world. It's the same thing for us. Like I don't walk around humping everything in my house. You know what I mean? Like I love playing kickball and walking, but
I
I
mean,
also
you're
make
normal.
porn.
You're a normal person.
Yeah, and I think that people have a problem, or they have trouble separating
Yeah.
what we do from what our personal lives as well too.
Right.
So those are the biggest misconceptions I've seen when it comes to adult content and those who make it.
Right.
And then finally, the people who actually see us. People think these men are like, which is nothing wrong with living with your parents, but they think it's like these like men in the basement, like these creepy men in the dark. But like
Yeah.
these
It's a
are your
stigma. They
yeah,
put
it is like these are your teachers, these are your politicians, these are people who you see every day.
Yeah.
I've encountered so many different types of people doing this line of work that I would never encounter in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, I don't obviously do what you do. I'm a sexologist, sex coach. I help
Mhm.
guide people in the bedroom and things like that. But even my career, which may not be as intimate as someone who might do what you do, I still have people that automatically hear what I do. They're like, oh, you're a sexologist. And then all of a sudden they start either flirting in a different way, treating me a different way. And a
Mhm.
lot of times I don't like to lead off right away with who I am or what I do, just because I want people to judge me for me,
Right.
but I am so confident and comfortable in who I am and what I do and the job that I help others with that I'm okay if that happens because I know how to kind of nip it in the bud right away. But like you said, people automatically think you are your career. You
Right.
are your business. And it's not true. We're normal people. I don't play kickball. I don't exercise. But, I do stuff around the house. I work on the computer. We go out to dinner. I'm a normal person too.
Right.
But it's that same misconception as when you're in this type of a field, people automatically have assumptions.
Mhm. Yeah.
So now when we're talking about this, so how would you navigate, let's say, ethical boundaries and consent? Because so much of adult content is fantasy driven.
Mhm.
So when people are doing that, you have to always make sure that there's consent and, boundaries and things like that. So how does that cross over? How does that work?
Yeah. So I'm very serious with not jumping into a cam show or phone call with someone without even having a conversation on boundaries. Even as me, as the
Right.
person who's serving them, I want to make sure that the person on the other side is okay with me saying certain things or doing certain things, and they often do it with me as well. And I think that can actually also transition into relationships. Like if you're doing something, never assume that the other person is okay with it and always ask if this is okay. Even during the actual fantasy or the role
Right.
play, still check in with people. And I know that's a big thing for me is to communicate with my customers throughout the entire thing and to not make someone feel uncomfortable, but also make my own self feel uncomfortable and feel like I have to do something because of
Right.
the money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
doing that check-in or having that safe word, or I mean, even in relationships today, if we try something new, always just, asking questions, curiosity, saying, do you think
Mhm.
this would be okay? Try something new. And also, I just feel that people are so quick to, assume that just because they're in a relationship that they can do whatever they want.
Right.
And when you're trying something new, that's kind of where that intimacy comes in, is having that conversation and allowing that trust to be there and the safety. And for people like you when people are reaching out, I like even when we started talking, you're like, is it okay if I say certain things? And I was like, yes. So you even asked me for consent, you
Mhm.
know? And so that's very, very important. I like that's part of it. It just keeps you both safe, keeps everybody
Right.
safe.
Mhm.
I just want to take a quick commercial break. I'm loving this conversation. So we'll be back in just a minute and we'll finish up with Pepper.
If you enjoy these podcasts with Dr. Stacy, imagine the results you can get from a personal coaching session. As a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach with over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Stacy helps people just like you reignite passion, explore their desires, and break through blocks that may be holding you back, solo or with a partner. Whether you're struggling with communication, desire mismatch, performance anxiety, or simply want to feel more confident and connected in your sex life, Dr. Stacy is here to help. She offers a complimentary 15-minute consult so you can see if working together feels right. Visit drstacyfriedman.com to schedule your free call today, and let's take your passion to the next level.
And we're back. We're talking with Pepper all about the adult industry and the digital industry and how it all kind of works together. I wanted to talk a little bit about being seen. You've mentioned that in a few places in your website and on our forums, and about that desire is not necessarily just about sex. It's about being seen, about being heard and wanted. So what have you seen in your career, in your life? How have you seen that shown up, people?
Yeah. So I often come across, specifically men, since those are my main customers,
Mhm.
come to me to feel validated. Even even during the role plays that we do, they may want me to say that it's okay that you're masturbating to me doing such and such. It's okay that you like it. Like a, a lot of times they just want that verbal confirmation that what they're
Permission,
doing is not wrong. Yeah.
permission.
And a lot of them don't, feel seen in the real world or desired. They may be insecure and they're looking for some sort of validation. And I've seen that even with married couples, which I think that's controversial too, with that. But it all shows up in different ways of being seen, having their sexuality, especially male sexuality, not seen as dirty. That's another way that I've seen it show up with me. And I know people think it's all about sex and it's all about fantasy, which ultimately at the end of the day, my customers do come at the end, but also they enjoy feeling heard. Sharing things that they may not even feel comfortable sharing. I've had guys come out as gay to me. I'm the first person come out as bisexual and just
No
share
judgment.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, no judgment.
yeah. hmm
And I think also, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, especially from people from backgrounds where they can't be themselves. So maybe if they come from a Christian community or maybe from a more politically conservative environment, a lot of them come to me to be themselves in a way that they can feel seen.
Yeah, and it's important, what you said about men. There's a lot of stigma in society about men. They say that every man is horny, every man wants sex, every man, they're putting these uh, labels on men, which really they just want, I think, what everybody else wants, but they may not know how to explain it or how to be okay with asking for it. And so a lot of that emotional intimacy is missing in relationships. And so many times I hear in my practice that women are like, I just want to be more emotionally connected. It's like, but are you giving that safe space for a
Mhm.
man to be emotional and to be open and to be able to share these things? And so, what have you learned about emotional intimacy within these erotic spaces? That you could maybe even help some of these partners of these men that could help them open up.
You know, I'm glad that you brought up that in terms of the other partner not recognizing or even seeing the way maybe a man shows up that may be differently. And I'm not saying that we are completely different, but I do think men see intimacy differently, and then especially with the sex part, just from what I've seen, I do see that certain men self regulate themselves with sex. And I think that is misunderstood, especially by women. And I know, like, even with me prior to doing this line of work, I was the one too saying, oh, why are men always horny and thinking with their penises? But it's a part of their biology. And I think if we understand it more, we would know how to approach it better.
Right.
And like you said, people do want forms of intimacy. It just shows up differently. And
Differently.
even just like asking, not judging, letting them cry and be in their full human self. And yeah.
And I find also that if we allow that to be, it's funny when I'm talking with the couples, a lot of times at the beginning, I'll say, I want your definition of what intimacy is, and I want your definition of what sex is. And I ask them when they're together to be able to have each one hear each other. And I usually ask the man first, because I don't want the man getting any clues from the woman, And I'll say, well, what is intimacy? Oh, when we're touching and kissing and having sex. And majority of the time you say to the woman, what is intimacy? When we're being emotional, when we're talking, when we're hugging, there's quite a bit of a difference. So when men feel loved, a lot of times it's more physical. And like you said, if we could have that understanding and not having that judgment, and biologically we're different, and just having that understanding, it could be such a safer and a better place for couples, for men, and things like that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I know that also with just desire in general, there's so many people that don't necessarily feel desire, but a lot of it is because of how we feel about ourselves.
Right.
And so if feeling desired starts with how we feel about ourselves, what happens when that self-image is off, and how can we shift that narrative, in our internal narrative, to feel better about ourselves, to build that desire.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I actually think too that that's a big part of what's missing with a lot of people who are not comfortable with their sexuality or expressing their sexual desires, is that we are not comfortable. And even the customers who I see, they have some form of them not feeling comfortable being themselves. And I know that some of them are in open relationships, or they don't
Right.
have shame, they don't care, I mean, like, their dynamic is different. But I do know for the majority of people who I see, they too have some sort of insecurity that they're trying to work out with me, and instead of being open and honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to navigate, but if we just can try to understand each other better, I think that the relationships are going to improve. And if people can understand why men enjoy this kind of stuff, then we can incorporate it a lot of times into the bedroom, and just have that much more fun. I mean, it's supposed to be fun. And I have a quote in my book, and it says, if you're not laughing while having sex, you're doing it wrong. And the whole idea behind that quote is basically saying sex is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be enjoying it. We're supposed to be playing around. We're supposed to be laughing. We're supposed to be able to just be free. It shouldn't be a job, So anyway, with the digital age and all the stuff with the phones and everything like that, there's the chat rooms, like you mentioned, dating apps. We're so connected, but yet so apart and lonely. And so why have you seen that change? And I mean, obviously we have the phones, we have, more ways to find things, but why can we be so much more connected and more lonely now?
Right. Yeah, I think especially after the pandemic, with people being inside and so used to texting and on their phones all the time, that a lot of people don't have any social skills. And even me, like,
Social
I know
skills.
yeah, and like, I know I do make porn and adult content, but I am a firm believer in having a balance and not being totally dependent on these platforms to have some sort of interaction, because that's not healthy at
Right.
all. And I think adult content can be used bad and it can be used good. And it all depends on how you use it in your life. And I think I think especially for the younger customers who I get, these are Gen Z guys who grew up with phones in their hands, and unfortunately, that has impacted the way they communicate in person. I've even cam with the younger men who don't even talk; they just like chat, and they don't even know how to talk, like
Yeah, because
how
everyone's
we are.
texting. Yeah,
Hmm.
everyone's
Yeah.
just texting. Even, my kids, they're older now, but, I remember just saying, "Oh, what's your plan for tomorrow? Give them a call and see." And they're like, "Do, do, 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 do." And it's like, pick up a phone. No, nobody knows. And
Right.
I think that affects the relationship. As many people that you connect with that actually want to connect with you and just talk and not really necessarily have anything sexual that they're seeing? Or
Yeah, I have a lot of older men. A lot of them maybe in their 70s or 60s who may come to
companionship
me.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll come to talk to me. They may live alone or even be in nursing homes and still contact me. Yeah, and talk to
Did
me.
you hear that, all you people in the nursing homes? You can call Pepper, a doctor.
Yeah, and like, we'll talk for 2 hours on the phone. Those are the conversations. I mean, I do love the sexual aspects, but I do enjoy conversations because I like getting to know people, and I've had people just maybe to even vent about a death in their family, and I'm the first to be known about it, and they just want to talk things through. Maybe someone's sick, maybe their partner is cheating even though they're with me cheating, and talking about it too, and just talking it through, because I think a lot of men too are afraid to be vulnerable with people in their lives, and if they say something, they're afraid to be judged. But because I'm a stranger and I don't know them, I don't know where they live or work, I'm not going to tell anyone. And so I often find in those cases, those are the times where they talk to me about personal issues or stories that they want to, or even like complain about the weather or whatever the case may be. Yeah, they'll
God, it
come to me.
sucks when it's raining and wet outside. Speaking of
Mhm.
wet, no.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what they do. It always turns sexual eventually, but
Right, right.
sometimes with like those guys, they'll talk for like an hour or so, and then at the end they'll come and then we'll be done.
That's so funny.
It
Well, we
is.
talked about wet at the beginning with the weather, and now we're wet. Okay.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what would you say that like healthy digital intimacy would look like versus maybe just someone emotionally outsourcing their feelings? You know, if they're contacting you, what would be a little bit of a healthier outlook?
In a perfect world, I would say be honest. I know it's hard for some men to be honest. Just tell your partner what you're into. I have husbands who, um, again, like their partners know that they're on the phone with me. They're honest with what they're doing. Their wives know me. I know that's not always the case, but when I see those couples, it seems like honesty is the best policy, and just being open and not assuming that your partner isn't going to like what you are into, because they may even be kinky. You may not even, know.
It's
Yeah.
true. I talk to people all the time and I'm be like, well, did you ever ask her if she likes it? She's like, well, no, she just seemed so pure and innocent. And then all of a sudden you talk to the girl, I'm like, are you willing to do this, this, and this? Yes, I'm willing. But now
Yeah.
that they find me, they just think that I'm this like innocent person and they're not wanting to tie me up and put me up on a ball gag and all this, it's true. It's that whole conversation, communication, and even people dating. So do you have any advice for people, let's say, who are trying to date and
Yeah.
still wanting to feel safe and desired and authentic and be able to communicate that way? What do you feel?
Yeah, well, one thing that I always see when people post the screenshots of dating, when a woman chatting with a guy or something, they're using those sites like OnlyFans, like asking for pictures and kinks, or like trying to get something out of them and have some kink fulfilled without their permission. I recommend not doing that, to not prey on innocent women who are looking for love, and you're trying to
Touching,
have
just like a
some
dick pic.
fantasy. Right. And it's like, don't do that. And then also
Rule number
too,
one.
yeah, it is number one. And I think people are afraid to ask about personal sexual questions on dates. And I'm not saying that's the first question you ask on your first date, but I think you should ask. And I even spoke to this guy where I think I was talking about how, um, how my customers sneak around, and then their partner finds out that they're watching porn or on OnlyFans. And I saw comments from husbands like, "Oh, well, we just didn't even have that conversation to begin with. And so I think too, with porn and OnlyFans and camming, just to ask if they indulge on those sites, why they do it, what someone's into, and not be afraid to even ask too. I know this is a big one with my customers who are intimate with men, which you should be honest about who you're intimate with, especially if you're not
Absolutely.
using protection and in someone's body, but also be honest with who you're sleeping with. And women not being afraid to ask if someone's into women, men, if is it just for sex, what do you like? People are afraid. I think they're afraid because they're afraid of the answer. But I think if we're just upfront, you'll just get the answers then
Right.
and there.
It's true. And then they're also afraid of judgment. And
Mhm.
listen, the way I looked at it is when I had gotten divorced, anybody that I went on a date with, I said, you're going to know who I am, what I like, what I don't like. And if you're not allowing me to be me, you're not right for me. And so when
Right.
people are going out there dating, it's so important. Obviously, like you said, you don't want to start the conversation. Hi, my name is, Stacy. What kind of sex positions are your favorite? You might
Right.
scare somebody off. But when you do get to those conversations, some people don't even know what to ask. So a lot of times I'll recommend go online and look up 101 sex questions, print out a form. So that way it doesn't feel like, when you ask, oh, do you like it doggy style, that it's like you actually like it that way, or, it's just because the paper's telling you to ask that question. So that
Mhm.
takes off some judgment. There's so many ways around feeling judged by just saying, okay, well, the internet gave me this paper. Let me
Right.
ask you these questions, and you can see who's a good match. And one of the things when people would say, oh, well, I want a threesome, but I don't actually want a third person, sometimes they'll say, okay, well, let's compromise and let's bring in a dildo. Let's bring in
Mhm.
something that, you could pretend, fantasy, role play,
Right.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Also, too, I know. So I was in a situation in the past, while I was doing this in the beginning, where my partner was pressuring me to do a threesome, which I didn't do. But I think too, like you said, finding alternatives, and if it's too personal, even like I know camming with someone who doesn't have an emotional attachment. We don't even know you. Which I mean, if you feel comfortable doing a digital show or even like you said, toys or something like that, where it's not a, it it doesn't impact your life and you can walk away not having any sort of attachment to a toy or a cam model for
Right,
a cam show with all three, you know what I mean, or
right. It's not
hire
so
a
invasive
mhm,
and so
yeah,
personal.
right.
And it's something that you can just turn off the computer, or you could take the toy, stick it in a drawer.
Mhm.
It's not something to fear, I guess you could say.
Right, right, right. Because at the end of the day, too, like that's a misconception of even us, like that we want your partner. We just want
Yeah.
the money, like you
You
know
know,
what I mean.
yeah.
Like I'm not in
Give me
love
the
with
money,
my
honey.
partner. Yeah, yeah, like you know what I mean. Like when I do like cam shows with couples, I'm not in love with the guy, and
Right,
and I'm bisexual too. So I'm not in love with the women either. I'm just there to help
right.
fulfill a fantasy that a couple has, and then I just log off and eat my dinner,
Yeah. And then go
Yeah.
about your day, go watch TV because you're a normal
Mhm.
person.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
I think that it's not even when women, let's say, get intimidated that way. I don't even think it's that, oh, she wants my partner. It's he doesn't want me. There's
Mhm.
something wrong with me. They're internalizing it. And I feel like a lot of times that's their own insecurity that needs work, and not just, listen, I'm not saying that there are some instances where the woman is doing everything that they're supposed to. They're secure. They're giving their partner what they need, and the partner's still doing things that they maybe are doing behind their back or things like that. But in many cases, when it's not that way and they're struggling with communication, there's a lot of insecurity, I think, on the other side.
Oh,
And they're afraid of not necessarily the guy, you wanting them. It's the guy not wanting the partner many times.
exactly. And sorry, I just want to like interject here is that sometimes with a guy, I may be a fantasy that he has for 4 minutes, like maybe I don't know. Sometimes it's just I may resemble or someone, I don't know, whatever the case may be, or like um I may be good at some sort of dirty talk that he's into, but it's not like he wants me, like you know what I mean? It's just like
It's a
only
fantasy.
like yeah, it's a fantasy for 4 minutes or 2 minutes or
Right.
however long it takes for them to come. But yeah, it's not.
4 minutes is nothing wrong with 4 minutes. It's good.
Mhm.
4
Yeah, and
minutes.
it's here it is. And like, like it's not like they would prefer me over their wife.
Or partner. Right.
They
Right.
still find their wife attractive. It's just
Yeah.
they're into the fantasy.
I mean, it's true. And I think that's kind of where we have to help the women understand also is that just because they are doing this doesn't mean that they're not wanting you, not needing you. It's only an issue, I think, when they're replacing their partner for intimacy and their partner's feeling that disconnect and then realizing, oh, now I understand why or whatever. But I think that when you're with a partner, fantasizing, like you said, is you're giving them something that they have different from their partner and they're doing it for those 4 minutes. And listen, not saying it's right or wrong, it's whatever is good for the couple as a partner, but we do want to try to keep that communication open so that way the men also feel safe to say, listen, I'm gonna, I enjoy watching this once in a while or doing this once in a while, and for it to be okay in a safe space.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more we normalize it, the more it won't be taboo and the more
right.
people won't s- sneak around doing it and just be
Yeah, it's
honest.
that sneaking around, I think, that
Mhm.
is the thing that can ruin a lot of
Oh
relationships.
yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Hmm.
So I know that I wanted to talk a little bit about your dream girl thing. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and then come back, and I want to hear a little bit about your dream girl. We'll be back in a few.
Looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Dr. Stacy's got you covered. From luxurious lotions to silky lubes and tantalizing toys, our collection has everything you need to turn up the heat and reignite that spark. Whether you're flying solo or with a partner, our products are designed to enhance intimacy and pleasure. Use the coupon code PURPLE and get 20% off your entire order. Visit drstacyfriedman.com, click the shop link, and explore our full range of goodies that are sure to bring out the fun in the bedroom. Let's make every moment more exciting. Dr. Stacy's Tantric Toys, where pleasure meets purpose.
And we're back with Pepper. We want to talk a little bit about designing your dream girl. So what is that, and what makes it different from like traditional fantasy content?
Yeah. So Design Your Dream Girl is a one-on-one experience with me where I allow people to have their fantasies fulfilled in a safe place, but it's also customized through videos, messaging, as well as one-on-one cam shows. And it's just a safe place where you can be naughty and not judge, and also have that customized experience
When you
where
say,
you can make it your own.
yeah, I was going to say, what exactly are you able to customize?
Mhm. Yeah. So they may have some sort of fantasy. So, for example, someone may want me to role play being their naughty neighbor or
Uh,
something like that, and then they want to utilize the messaging to chat back and forth. But I'm in the role of the neighbor, and
right on your
I'm
door,
acting
and have some
right.
cream,
Right. I'm like
cream for
texting
brain
them. Mhm.
coffee.
Mhm, no, yeah. I actually made a video like that before. But
Did you?
yeah, I did.
I saw it. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
But yeah,
See, I
it's
could
just
do it. I could do it
mm,
too.
yeah.
That's funny. That's
But
funny.
yeah, it's just a role play. Sometimes they may come just to chat all day and then they may customize it. You know, they may want to cam at this time, but they may want to warm up and chat throughout the day. So it's whatever the fantasy looks like.
When you see people that finally give themselves permission to want what they want, when they talk to and they feel comfortable sharing stories that maybe they couldn't share, do you see any kind of transformation in them? Like, do you see them light up or open up? What kind of transformation do people actually go through when they can finally give themselves permission?
At the end of our shows, and I know for certain customers, they really appreciate a place where they can be themselves. A lot of them are happy that they can just get it off their chest and not have to think about it all day, because I know a lot of times with customers, they may think about something all day and they can't get their work done. They can't do anything until they release, that fantasy or whatever
Or
is on their mind. Yeah,
really
yeah.
whatever else.
hmm
But
And
yeah,
yeah, I find that it helps with focus too. I mean, I'm just being honest in terms of how they think. So
no, it makes sense because, like you said, when you have a lot on your mind or when you are feeling stressed and just tightening in your chest, if you can't release or feel free to speak about what you want, I'm sure that them being able to do that allows them almost like an energy boost
yeah.
for the day, to be able to share and open up. It's definitely helping people thrive, I think, when they're able to be honest and open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you another, let me just put this up here for people to see so they know, there you go, how to reach you, how to see Design Your Dream Girl as well. But you also have the Spicy Spectrum, right? Is that what it's called, your
Yeah.
podcast? So how does your podcast help explore identity and sexuality through chatting? What's all about
Yes.
your podcast?
Sure. So I share my perspective of male desire from someone who works in the adult industry for men and also women who are curious, because I think there is a disconnect, not only with a lot of women being familiar, or even have knowledge of male desire, but also too, I think it's still quote unquote taboo between sex workers and women who are not. And I think that if they hear my perspective, then they get a greater uh,
Understanding.
understanding, because like you said earlier, that it's always great to lead with curiosity rather than judgment, and I use my platform for those who may want to resonate with what I'm saying, but also those who may be curious and may have gone in with a different perspective and then walk away with learning something new.
Yeah, I think that's helpful just because, like you said, with relationships and um, women understanding male desire,
Mhm.
that they can learn from somebody who is going through or who actually works in a field that sometimes they might be intimidated by, and
Right.
understanding where does it come from? What have you learned? Which may actually help them understand their partners better. So
Yeah.
I love how you do that. I wanted to ask one more kind of little bonus question here. I'm curious, what is, if you're able to say, what is the most surprising thing that maybe a client's ever asked for? I'm just curious, like something that stands out in your head.
Oh yeah, I've actually shared this. I had a guy in which he said I can share it. I won't share his name, but he paid me a total of, over us camming, 21K to punch a pillow, on cam, to punch a pillow, no putting in the dildo or anything like that, just naked and saying vulgar things, of course. But that was my biggest shock about, even
Wow.
if it's sexual, like me, like punching a pillow is something someone's into. Obviously, it's in connection with probably wrestling fantasy, or some sort of BDSM. But that was the most shocking about that was
That is really interesting. I like, and now I have this image in my head of you just naked punching a pillow
for 2 hours, by the way.
for hours.
Good
Listen,
cardio.
if that's all it takes, to make $21,000, I will punch a pillow. Call me. Call me. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fine.
Oh, wow. This conversation has been great. And you've actually shed a lot of light on the industry, and hopefully a lot of women can help understand better how to maybe talk with their partners about desire and understand just about like the adult industry more. And you really brought the stories to today's episode. It's been great. And, whether you're designing dreams with Pepper Kat or breaking taboos, your voice matters. And I think it's important for all of us to understand that we all need to have a voice, and it can help us feel a little bit more seen. So thank you for this awesome, show that you gave us today.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe we'll see you on your podcast.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that was it for this episode of the Purple Passion Project, where we keep it real with just the right amount of spice. If you loved what you heard, subscribe on your favorite I'm losing my tongue twister. I was so caught up with this episode. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms and on my YouTube at Dr. Stacy Friedman. So if you're ready to go deeper, follow me all over social media at Dr. Stacy Friedman for resources, tips, products, and personal support. Until next time, stay curious, stay turned on, and never apologize for wanting more. Whew. Have a good one. See you next time.
This has been the Purple Passion Project with host Dr. Stacy Friedman. Tune in each week as Dr. Stacy breaks down walls, busting myths, and gives you permission to want more with no shame, no filters, and definitely no small talk. Check in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite streaming platforms. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be sure to visit drstacyfriedman.com to learn more.